Don't Look Up, also known as how a small number of the super rich elite sacrifice the rest of the population to the bull god to make line go up. The movie. By the way, spoilers. I feel like the satire that is Don't Look Up can apply as a metaphor to a bunch of issues people are politically divided on, and some of y'all out there are speculating that this film is about the biggest topic that's divided the public for the past 2 years. And hold on, let me just take a minute here to find out what that is. Oh yeah, the global pandemic. In an interview with Deadline, the film's director, writer, and person, Adam McKay, confirmed that he wrote the script for Don't Look Up before the pandemic, claiming the strangest thing about this movie was writing it, casting it, and then seeing a lot of the elements come true, and then wondering, do you even make the movie? As you probably know by now, the initial purpose of the movie was to make the comet a big ol' metaphor about climate change. Adam McKay has openly expressed his concern about climate change for well over a decade now, as the ticking clock for us to take action before that doomsday is reducing from like 100 years to now like 30 years, and it's just dwindling every day. The president and her son having the same last name, Orlin, is another thing hinting at the fact that the movie's a cautionary tale about climate change, with New Orleans being a city in the United States that's below sea level and is threatened by rising ocean levels due to, you guessed it, climate change. The new Bash Life phone is also hinting at what Peter Isherwell's company is gonna do to Earth, as in bash it with the comet, killing all life, thus Bash Life. You get it? The Bash Life presentation opened up with the tasteless use of Michelangelo's The Creation of Adam, and for that reason, I'm about to go biblical. The 14.3 in the Bash Life phone name stuck out to me. In the Bible, during John chapter 14 verse 3, Jesus tells his disciples, "And if I go and prepare a place for you, I will come back and take you to be with me, that you may also be where I am." This verse is referring to rapture and God taking his disciples with him, which is what happens with this tech god as he destroys the earth and takes his rich colleagues to start a new life on a somewhat paradise planet. Also, it was Jonah Hill's idea for Jason to carry around this Birkin bag so he could so unnecessarily flaunt it in order to show off his status and wealth, making him just appear really tacky. And the daily rip is rest in peace, as in rip humanity. And Don't Look Up, a comet the size of the asteroid that killed the dinosaurs is headed towards Earth, with a 99.78% chance of colliding with us and bringing one of those we all die in a fiery inferno situations. You may be familiar. By the way, when Kate is explaining the situation to Philip, there's a person with a dinosaur costume in the background. And that's not the only Easter egg. The QR code that appears on the screen for the Bina and Cello concert takes you to the music video for that performance on YouTube. And the phone number that appears on the screen for the Peace of Mind sends you to America's hottest talk line. So don't worry, because I added that to my call history so you don't have to. Oh, also, for those of you who don't know, there is an after credits scene where Jason survives the impact and records a video of himself claiming that he's the last man on Earth. Who exactly he's telling that to is still up for debate. Don't Look Up is edited in a similar style as Adam McKay's 2015 film, The Big Short. The Big Short has a similar kind of story as Don't Look Up, but instead of the meteor crashing into Earth, it was the crash of the United States housing market in 2008. The Big Short analyzes the sheer negligence of companies focused on temporary profit margins without taking into account the detrimental effect it will have on our society in the future. And Don't Look Up is exactly that. So while The Big Short is about something that happened, and Don't Look Up is about something that's based on real events that haven't happened yet, both carry similar messages. In The Big Short, when the stock market crashes after everyone ignored the underlying corrupt issues happening with subprime home loans, two of our main characters enter an empty stock exchange and exchange these words.
This isn't how I pictured it.
What'd you think we'd find?
I don't know. Grown-ups.
Then in Don't Look Up, when the rich billionaires and the president ignore the scientific research that could delay or cancel the Bash mission, President Orlin says to Dr. Mindy,
"You're with the grown-ups now, Randall."
as she's smoking a cigarette next to a piece of flammable equipment. These are the lines that hit me the hardest in both films. In reality, the adults in charge are often as incapable as you or I. The only difference between us and them is that we're distracted or occupied with other things, and they're the ones calling the shots. Bash, a representation of the Apples, Teslas, Metas, or whatever future tech app or phone company to come our way, uses children on stage to appeal to their prepubescent consumer base, getting people hooked on their smartphones phones at a very young age, using big tech's strategy of making the younger generation become reliant on their products. Then the kids grow up idolizing a scam artist billionaire who operates under the guise of wanting to forward humanity. Throughout The Big Short, we are shown montages of commercials, hit singles, celebrity drama, and all these supposedly fun things that keep the average person distracted from the serious stuff. In Don't Look Up, these montages are replaced with shots of nature, clearly telling us the things that the antagonists are sacrificing while giving us a break from this fever dream. We don't see the toxic media polluting our minds during these montages because the characters are now experiencing it firsthand. At the start of the film, Kate is reading an article about the president's Supreme Court nominee not being qualified, but it's outshined by the news of Riley Bina and DJ Cello breaking up, which is something that disturbs me about the current state of our media, as this one moment accurately depicts our world. In an interview with NPR, Adam McKay went on to say that our culture right now is stuck in this format, this kind of professional format that's really like a holdover from the mid-90s, or you could even argue the late 70s, and it doesn't fit our times. Like our sort of professional timbre that we have, this sort of everything's okay, everything goes in cycles. It doesn't match reality at all, and people are dying for someone to sound like a human being. The main selling point of Bash Life was its feature to shove a video of a puppy in your face if you're feeling sad, so that those sad feelings never return, when in reality, it's pretty good for us all to ride a wave of sadness here and there, and just try to not be happy and perfect all the time. To quote the newsroom, the first step in solving any problem is recognizing there is one. But like the Bash phone experience, all we see on these social media apps are pictures and videos of people at their best. But when you share something that's more real, people don't like it as much. There's like this line of manufactured authenticity where if you're too vulnerable and too real, you end up crossing that line and losing your audience, as that realness is somewhat polarizing. It's almost like the one thing we all crave is authenticity, but when presented with it, we can't stomach reality, as we've grown so accustomed to this finely tuned artificial presentation. Like when Kate's life was ruined for getting too emotional about us all dying. And during the concert, the audience didn't cheer for Dr. Mindy or Kate because they wanted Riley Bina and DJ Cello to perform. In the midst of this desperate need to make change, the actual message is overshadowed by the performance of Riley Bina and DJ Cello, as they sing this mediocre pop song that commodified and took away from the seriousness of the actual issue. It's easy to believe a positive show host who's playing down the validity of scientific data if it puts your mind at ease, even if they have no real backing to be questioning the data in the first place. But they still wrongly cause doubt in order to lessen the severity of a dire situation. And this is a strategy huge corporations and governments love using on the general public. It's kind of like the 3-star general making up an issue like the White House charging for the cheese snacks when the snacks are actually free. This way, 3 stars over here could create a fake problem, blame other people, and collect money from hardworking Americans. Big corporations and governments also love when we're all pitted against each other, so they generate a bunch of misinformation so you can blame your problems on race, immigrants, or poor people. When in actuality, it's never any of those things. It's just a false narrative to keep you distracted while the rich get richer, and so that you don't realize that at the end of the day, the wealthy elite are the ones causing your problems. In this process, they divide friends, families, communities over something that shouldn't necessarily be a debate, like trivializing facts or scientific data that's backed by most developed countries. As Leonardo DiCaprio claimed during his speech at the UN regarding climate change,
"There is no doubt in the world scientific community that this is a direct result of human activity and the effects of climate change will become astronomically worse in the future. Now think about the shame that each of us will carry when our children and grandchildren look back and realize that we had the means of stopping this devastation, but simply lacked the political will to do so."
POTUS and her chief of staff had their doubts about the 99.78%, and to be fair, they were right. If they were basing these percentages off the accuracy of Bash products, Bash's algorithms correctly predicted that President Orlin was going to be eaten by a Brontorok. However, Peter claimed that his algorithms determined that there would be a 96% chance that Dr. Mindy would die alone, something that never actually ended up happening, mostly because Dr. Mindy placed more value on his family than he did on status or material. Those are my quick thoughts on Don't Look Up. Hopefully you found this video somewhat insightful, and thanks for watching. Oh, and don't forget to like and subscribe, even if the world has ended.